What if I told you that the man who changed the way we listen to music, talk on the phone, and even look at technology was once fired from his own company? Would you believe me if I said that one of the greatest visionaries of our time was also someone who failed, stumbled, and struggled more than most people ever knew? This is the untold story of Steve Jobs, the man who turned rejection into revolution and failure into fuel, early struggles and humble beginnings. Steve Jobs was not born into wealth. He was born in 1955 to a single mother who decided to give him up for adoption. His biological parents believed education was important, and they insisted that the adoptive parents promise to send him to college. Paul and Clara Jobs, a working-class couple, adopted Steve. His father was a mechanic, and his mother a bookkeeper. They didn't have much, but they gave Steve something more valuable than money: a love for craftsmanship. Steve would watch his father build electronics in the family garage, and he learned early that real beauty is found not just in what people see, but in the details hidden inside. That philosophy would later define everything he built. But Steve's early life wasn't glamorous. He struggled in school. He was smart, no, brilliant, but restless. He was often bored, often distracted, and teachers thought he was difficult. Yet there was something unusual about him, a curiosity that never stopped asking why. That curiosity would become both his gift and his weapon, dropping out to drop. Steve did what most people would consider reckless. He enrolled at Reed College, but after 6 months, he dropped out. To his parents, this looked like failure. To society, it looked like irresponsibility. But Steve saw it differently. By dropping out, he wasn't bound by required classes. He dropped in on the ones that fascinated him, like calligraphy. At the time, it seemed useless. But years later, when he designed the Macintosh computer, he remembered those beautiful fonts and crafted the first personal computer with typography. What looked like wasted time became one of his greatest design contributions. This is a lesson right here. Sometimes, the dots don't connect in the present. They only make sense when you look back. Steve said it himself. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. The birth of Apple. In 1976, in a small garage, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple. They had a vision: to put a computer into the hands of everyday people. At that time, computers were massive, expensive, and reserved for corporations or scientists. But these two young men wanted to bring that power to ordinary homes. They built the Apple I, then the Apple II. Soon, Apple was not just a company. It was a movement. By age 25, Steve Jobs was a multimillionaire. Apple went public, and Jobs was hailed as a genius. Success had come fast, but so would the storm. The fall, fired from his own company. By 1985, a power struggle inside Apple led to something shocking. Steve Jobs, the co-founder, was fired. Imagine that. The company he built, the dream he started, pushed him out. Most people would have broken, most would have quit, but not Steve. He later said, "Getting fired from Apple was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It freed me to enter one of the most creative periods of my life." Instead of sulking, he started over. He founded Next, a computer company ahead of its time, and he bought a small graphics studio called Pixar. That little studio would go on to create Toy Story, the world's first computer-animated feature film, and forever change animation. Failure didn't end Steve Jobs. It transformed him. The return of the visionary. In 1997, Apple was struggling. Ironically, the company that had once fired Steve Jobs called him back. And when he returned, he didn't just save Apple, he reinvented it. The iMac, iPod, iTunes, iPhone, iPad, product after product, revolution after revolution. Each one not just a device, but a piece of art. Each one not just functional, but beautiful. Steve Jobs had a gift. He didn't just make products, he made experiences. He didn't just sell devices, he sold dreams. He once said, "People don't know what they want until you show it to them." And he showed the world things it never knew it needed, but now cannot live without. The philosophy of simplicity. At the heart of Steve Jobs' genius was simplicity. He believed in focus, in saying no to 1,000 things so you could say yes to the one thing that truly mattered. When he returned to Apple, the company had dozens of products. He slashed them to just 4. 4 products that mattered. That ruthless focus saved Apple from bankruptcy and set it on the path to becoming the most valuable company in the world. Simplicity wasn't just his design principle, it was his life principle. He wore the same black turtleneck, jeans, and sneakers every day. Why? Because he didn't want to waste energy on small decisions. He wanted all his energy for the big ones, battling death, embracing life. In 2003, Steve Jobs was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was told he had months to live. Imagine that moment, being one of the most powerful men in the world, yet powerless against death. But Jobs didn't surrender. He fought. He underwent surgery, treatments, and kept working. He even stood on stage, thinner and weaker, but still introducing products that would change lives. He once told a graduating class at Stanford, "Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life." Those weren't just words. They were the creed he lived by. Facing death made him more alive, more urgent, more committed to his vision. The legacy. Steve Jobs passed away in 2011. He was only 56. But in those years, he accomplished more than most could in 10 lifetimes. He didn't just create products, he created culture. He didn't just lead a company, he led a revolution. Think about it. The phone in your pocket, the laptop on your desk, the way you consume music, movies, and even information. All of it carries the fingerprints of Steve Jobs. But perhaps his greatest legacy isn't technology, it's inspiration. It's the belief that ordinary people can change the world if they dare to think differently. The lessons for us. So, what can we learn from Steve Jobs? Failure is not the end. It's a new beginning. Being fired from Apple didn't destroy him. It refined him. Stay curious. Dropping into calligraphy class looked useless until it wasn't. Follow your curiosity. It might pay off in ways you can't yet see. Focus matters. Say no to the unimportant so you can say yes to the extraordinary. Live fully. Remember his words, "Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life." Steve Jobs' story is proof that greatness is not about never falling, but about rising every time you do. It's about believing in your vision even when the world laughs at you. It's about thinking differently. So the next time you feel like giving up, remember Steve Jobs, the boy who was adopted, the dropout, the man who was fired from his own company, yet came back to change the world. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find the courage to change your own.